welcome to another episode of The Heart of the Matter. My name is Umilola Oshikoya, and today we are talking about raising strong women. We have with us Raquel Jacobs, who is a social entrepreneur and an innovator. She's the founder of Beyond the Classroom Foundation, which is focused on improving public primary education. Aside from all these achievements, Raquel's greatest achievement is her personal story, which she'll be sharing with us. Raquel, thank you very much for coming on The Heart of the Matter.
Thank you for having me.
So, could you tell us what a typical day is like in the life of Raquel?
Typical day. I don't think I have a typical day.
Okay.
I could do a typical week. Okay, so I work with 10 public primary schools, but they're not all in Lagos.
Okay.
So for the ones in Lagos, I visit them on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and sometimes on Friday.
Okay.
So typical day would be maybe dress up, take a bike to the nearest school,
Okay.
maybe go for assembly if I can, and then do school classroom runs. Classroom runs meaning I observe the teachers, and then I take notes to see what the classroom needs, and what they don't need, or how far they're going, or stuff like that. So, and then maybe off to a speaking engagement or anything else, a meeting or something.
So can you tell us some of the projects you're actually working on? Tell us about some of them.
Okay, currently we're running the Techative project. It's Tech Activate, so
Okay.
activating technology for children.
Okay.
So in working with children for the last 4 years, we realized that most of them have no access to digital literacy programs. So we introduced it in partnership with Microsoft. So that's our focus from 2015 to 2016. That's what we're doing right now. So we're engaging all 10 schools across Lagos, Ife, Ibadan, and Akure. That's the 10 schools I work with, trying to get the children tech activated.
Okay.
In summary.
And then World Economic Forum Global Shaper. That is
Okay.
massive. That's huge. How did you?
Well, you say it's massive. It was a dream come true.
Okay.
It's a big title. It's I don't take it lightly. But I volunteered for the World Economic Forum when it was organized in Nigeria in 2014 as the team lead for 52 volunteers that were sent from University of Lagos to Abuja. It was a big role. And so after volunteering, I noticed that I'm aware of the World Economic Forum, but I haven't had any interest in what they do or how I could get involved. And I noticed a lot of young people came. And as a volunteer, I was curious, so I started to ask questions afterwards. So why are you guys here? They said, oh, they're global shapers. I'm like, what does it mean? And they started telling me about their portfolios. I'm like, this is exactly what I'm already doing in the last 3 years. So why can't I be a part of the program? So when the application for Lagos Shapers opened, I jumped on it, and then I applied and I got in.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so your personal story. I remember reading on a blog, I think it was Bola Tiso's blog and then your blog as well. I read your personal story and it was so inspiring. Can we start from the very beginning, when you lost your dad?
Okay.
Could you tell us how you felt?
Okay, if you had asked me 2 years ago, I probably said, no, you know what, I'm not talking about this. But I've gotten to a place where I've noticed that my story is actually something a lot of people wanted to hear. I didn't think people wanted to hear. But so when I was 16, I'm about turning 16, and my dad asked me what I wanted to be after secondary school, because I was just in secondary and SS3. And I told him all the big dreams that I had. And then we talked about it for days, and then Christmas evening, he died. And everything
On Christmas Day?
Christmas Day.
Wow.
And everything that I wanted to be just changed. Everything just stopped. And that was where my life sort of went on pause. Because my mom was at a point where she was about stopping her job to stay at home. So she'd already filed in to leave her job.
Wow.
And then my dad didn't have any saving when he died. No insurance, nothing. And so my kid brother had to drop out of school, because he was just in he was about 2 going 3, so he was just going into school for the first time. And so he dropped out of school. Then I finished secondary school, and then my other brothers too had to drop out of school because my mom couldn't afford it. I think a lot of things happened between then and now, but then the turning point for me was when my mom eventually became sick. And there was no money, and she was so sick. And I overheard my uncles discussing how it would be nice to just marry me off to one rich guy and get some money and just send my brothers to school. You know how they're like, well, they're boys, they need to get an education. I already have my secondary school certificate, and it's fine for her. She's good to go. And overhearing that, for me, was a big blow. There was no way I wanted to get married at 16. And so I was born here I was born here in Lagos, and I lived here till I was 10. Okay. So I always wanted to. We're living in Kaduna at that point, because my dad moved us to the north. Long story. Okay. But then, so I just knew that, you know, I couldn't stay back there. If I stayed one more day, they were going to just ship me off, and I just ran away.
Wow.
So that's how I got here.
So you ran to Lagos?
Yes. My uncle stays here, and I was familiar because I was 10 when I left here, and I was really aware. So I knew my way around. I knew Obalende, I knew Ikoyi, I knew my way around. So I just came to stay with my uncle.
So what happened after that when you moved here?
What happened afterwards? So I'll summarize it. So I started to stay with my uncle, and it was a big deal because he didn't want me to stay with him. He kept saying, my mom wanted me to come back. I'm like, no, I don't want to go back. And I explained to him that my other uncle wanted to marry me off. And a Thursday evening, his wife traveled, and then got this huge scar here, you know. And then he was a near rape experience, my uncle. And that's when I jumped out of the house, picked up my bag, and I went on the streets. Because that was only one person I knew at that point in this town. And
what was it like living on the streets?
It was hard. It was really hard. I went straight to Obalende. Okay. Decided to ask people if they had anywhere I could stay. Because my uncle lived in around Obalende. So people said, oh, you know what, there are rooms you can rent for 14 naira, 15 naira per night. But usually it's prostitutes that rent it. So if you have to stay there, you have to talk to them. So yes, I spoke to them. I said, well, I would like to have a place to stay. And they were like, oh, you're welcome. You know, you can just stay. Where are you from? I told them, oh, this is my story. They were like, oh, great, you can stay with us. So I stayed with them. It was hard because then every night they had to go out to work and then had to wait up. And they would come and tell me, you know, Raquel, just join us. I'm like, no, I'm not interested. It was difficult. Yeah, very difficult.
Very difficult. At
there's
that age,
this
you had nothing
weed,
to lose.
there is drugs, there's everything right there in your face. And Obalende is not a place you want to stay at night at that time. It's actually very sane right now. You know, I passed there and I'm like, this place is sane. It was insane. 11 p.m. is like 7 p.m. Like everything is happening. And so many things, bad people, parents even send their girls to the streets to go look for money. And they said, my mom sent me here. And so I lived with the kind of people that I lived with for a while before I got out.
So what kind of people, like, were they, was it out of their circumstances, or did they just choose that they wanted to be prostitutes and things like that?
Some of them were there because their mothers actually sent them there. So all the way from Benin, they would say, I came all the way from Benin to Lagos to prostitute and make money, hoping that they'll go to Italy from there. Some lost parents. Some thought, my dad died, my mom died, and I'm here. And some just want to be rebels. They just want to have the big life. Then there was mobile phones coming out, and they all wanted to have phones. And so most of them, it was that also. So everyone had different stories right there in Obalende. There were different stories.
So at some point you left the living with the prostitutes.
Yes.
And you moved to...
Oh, it wasn't easy leaving because then I didn't have a job. And so I was writing last night, so what I was going to post on my blog, how I got my first job. Asked one of them to give me 200 naira to start a business. And she said, what kind of business do you want to do with 200 naira? And I said, I want to make sobo. I want to sell sobo. And she was like, you can't be with us and selling sobo. It's not going to work. And so finally she agreed. She was one that actually said to me, use what you have to get what you want. So I just did that. I said, Amaka, you know what? I want to use what I have. I have skill I could use to make money. And so she gave me 200 eventually and started my business. And so I was making sobo. Then I would beg people that are selling soft drinks to put my sobo with their soft drinks and their ice block, because I couldn't afford to buy ice block. And I would cool a bit and then I would sell. There was no gain per se, but at a point they got comfortable with me selling sobo. Yeah, at first it wasn't funny, but they got comfortable. And one day the police came to raid the prostitutes. Oh, wow. And I was lucky not to be around that day. So I just knew God's hand was on me, because I wasn't there. If I was there, I would have been shipped off to maybe Kirikiri, I don't know where. But then when I came ahead, what happened, I just knew that it was time to leave. So I went to Cyber Cafe.
Okay. Hold that thought. We need to take a quick break. I'm going to continue after the break.
Okay.
Thank you. Viewers, stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break. Hello, welcome back to the Heart of the Matter. We still have with us Raquel Jacobs, and we're still talking about raising strong women. So Raquel, before the break, we were going to talk about where you left, where the prostitutes were, to a cyber cafe. However, before we talk about that, can you let us know how many young girls or women are living on the streets as prostitutes? Secondly, I remember reading that you were almost raped and found yourself in hospital. Can you also share that with us as well?
Okay. I can't say the number of girls that live on the streets. When I was there, we were about 25, 30. We were about 25, and some come and go, and with different names, different identities. So, but then I had 3 near rape experiences. One was my uncle, then 2 while I was on the streets. So one was some of the girls wanted to sell me out. You know, that girl that doesn't want to join you guys, just take money and just find a way to get her to come to this place, and then we just have her. And that was the story I heard afterwards. What happened was, so a friend of ours there said I should walk her down to get something to buy. It was past 11, but as you know, as of Valentine, like I said, it was 7 p.m. And so I went with her, harmlessly. She was just one of the girls, so there was no problem. And if you're familiar with that place, I'm trying to picture it in my mind, then the military guys were still there around that Odo streets, that Denambar, coming from Kefi. And then they had lots of barbed wires up on the road because they're trying to stop all these touts. And it was a lot of it. And we passed it. I passed the military guys. Some of them were asleep. And then we got to where they were selling stuff, and she just disappeared. I was noticed that the girl wasn't buying anything. I'm like, where is this girl? And 2 guys started chasing me. Wow. And I was running, and I used to have asthma. So you can imagine how I was running, and I was afraid. So I was really running and trying to jump one of the barbed wires, and then I fell off, and it caught my skin. So I have this huge scar by my side. I remember a lot of people have asked me, how do you get this scar? I've given them different stories because I didn't know how to explain it. And then I fell off, and I tried getting up, and the barbed wire cut my skin, took a chunk of my flesh. And the guy saw all the blood, and instead of leaving me, he took me, full of my blood, and dropped me under the bridge and ran away. Wow. And I passed out. I remember waking up the next morning in military hospital on Kefi, and they were saying, I was just hearing people saying, it's a shell, and I didn't understand. I was like, okay, what's happening? And then there were like 15 girls in the hospital, all dressed, almost half naked, because they were afraid that I was going to die. And because I was like they call me Jesus girl. I was the one that was not one of them. I wish I am. But I'm trying. So I was like their friend. I was the one that they would talk to and cry to. I was the one that would listen to them. So they all were there half naked. And they were saying, oh, it's one of their shower girls. I'm like, did I just hear that? You know, so when I opened, they're like, thank you, thank God. You know, they're screaming. And they're like, bring down your voices. You guys are screaming. And then the girl said, we had to steal the card, that the card had my name, because everyone knew my real name. I didn't know their names, but I called them Amaka or anything, but I knew it was all aliases, but everyone knew my name. So they're saying it was Raquel. I had my name on the card, and their occupation was prostitute.
Wow.
And
so
I said,
you guys call the police?
You guys had, yes. They said they're going to call the police on us. I'm like, you guys have to steal that card. And they took me out of the house. I don't know how we left, but it's one of the decisions I made. I'm like, you can't call me that. I'm not, but then I was rolling with them. And so I had to find a way to get out.
So after that, obviously, you decided you were not going to stay with them.
I didn't just leave. I also had another experience where I was almost raped in the house. So a girl the guy that paid money up front for a girl, and then she ran away. Collected money, I think at 5,000, small money, and then she didn't show up for the night. And so he came to the room where she was and didn't see her. It's like, she's supposed to be here. They had an agreement. And then he said he wants someone. He said, oh, there's nobody. They've all gone to work. And I was sleeping. And he was like, in that room. He said, oh, that she doesn't have your time. And he just came in. And it was a huge fight. And it was the woman that sells food outside that came to save me. She was shouting, they want to rape Raquel, come and help her, and all that. Wow. It was so I was, in as much as I was living with them, I knew God was with me. I knew God was with me.
Okay, so let's now go to the cyber cafe. So how did that happen? How did you get?
So after the police raid, I just knew I wouldn't go back there. So I went to browse. I went to send an email to a few friends of mine. You know, when you're in secondary school, your friends give you email addresses. So I want to send bulk emails to everyone, say, oh, if you have anywhere to stay, I could come stay in your house. And so I noticed, I went there about past 7. And the lady said, do you want all night? Do you want to browse all night or 1 hour? And I was like, all night. What's all night? And then she said, oh, you pay 200, and then you're here all through the night. I'm like, to myself, she said, yes. And then I pay 16 naira for 1 hour. I'm like, no way, I'll pay 200. And so it just occurred to me at that point, oh my God, if I pay 200, I have a computer to myself. And I could just sleep there. And that was how I started living there. It was just convenient.
So can you tell us, why would people want to spend the night in a cyber cafe? Aside, obviously you had it, but clearly there's a service and they're obviously making money. What is it about the nighttime in the cyber cafe?
Yahoo boys, really. You know, they want to make money. So I remember one of the nights I was sleeping there and I was hearing IP address, relay. I didn't know what that meant. I'm like, what's relay? What's IP address? And people would be on the phone for hours. And then I was curious, what are they doing? Why is everyone here? Why are we not sleeping? I thought I was here to sleep. And then they say, oh, you want to know what's up? I was like, yeah, I don't mind. And then they let me into their secret. They're Yahoo boys that browse all through the nights because in some part of the world, they were still up. So, yeah, so that's what they do most of that night. So,
wow. And this is like a thriving business.
Of course, it was. I don't know if it's still on, but at that point, it was crazy.
Wow, and they're obviously making lots of money.
They were making, these boys had cars.
Wow.
They were building houses. As in, it was crazy. You would be crazy not to want to join them at that point.
Wow.
And some of them used their money to dive into music. At that point, just want to make money to go into music. Some of them had end games that, oh, I want to go into the movie industry, I want to go sing, so I want to make money from this to go. And so some of them would tell me their stories.
At that point, you needed to survive.
I just needed to leave. If I wanted to get, I wanted to be like other boys, the boys that come, do 6 months and just leave. So I was like, I'm just do 1 month. Just help them make the phone calls. I'm not doing anything, just phone calls. And then I made up my mind. And I came to a cafe late. I can't remember. I've been trying to think of what I was doing that kept me out late. By the time I got to the cafe, everyone was gone. And then the one guy started screaming, that's the girl that told on us, that's the girl. And the beating I got that day, I never forget. And they beat me, they thought I was the one. Yeah, they thought I was the one. And I wasn't, because I just came late. They're like, if I wasn't the one, I would be here with them, because I was always on time. How come I came there late?
That day.
And so,
but that could have just been God, because if you were there, then you would have gotten arrested.
Yes. True. Like I told you, I felt God's hand in my life at all time. I just felt, oh my God, raid again. They're like 4 raids and I've always escaped them. So I just knew that it was God. But then after that beating, I didn't want to go back there.
So did you ever question God in all of this? And I remember you, even as you've been talking, we're talking about how God's hand was on you. How did you get to the point where you now look God in the face and said, okay, God, you know what? I'm giving you my all. You've clearly saved me from so much, and just turning to Him. Because with all the things that you're doing now, it could only be a God factor. So can you just share on that?
I don't think that when I was on this, I think I was saner on this train than I am right now. Come with a couple of things that I've tried to do some years back. I was a better person when I was on the streets. Because I had the Christian foundation. So I had God all through. I had the Bible in my school bag. So I carried my Bible everywhere I went.
So you started from home?
From home. It wasn't that I just woke up one day and I got born again. If I wasn't born again, but I was brought up that way. I hadn't said the prayer of salvation at that time, but I was brought up in a way that I turned to God at every time. I would read the Bible, even with those girls. I would tell them, let's do devotion. Ask me if I do devotion a lot these days. But at that time, I was serious about it because I knew that I didn't want to be like them. So, and I was serious. I was a teenager, turned 17 right there. I was going to turn 18, almost 2 years, but right there, growing and seeing these kind of things. The only thing that kept me there was my faith. It was, I can't say right now that it's like faith in God, but I knew that it was the training that I had when I was home that kept me on. And I cried several times. Several times I just go out there, I'll just cry for hours. And I'll come back, I'll tell the girls, I want money, but I can't be wearing one pair of jeans for close to a year. Only I do is brush the jeans and pray that nobody steals it at night when I'm sleeping. The next morning I'm wearing it's probably half dry. And I'll cry, like, why can't I just buy a fine bag like these girls? But I knew I didn't want to do what they were doing. And so sometimes they give me their old clothes, but I cried to God several times. Several times I tried to say, you know what, God, tonight is the night I'm going to just join them. And then I wouldn't. But I cried to God the whole time. I was crying the whole time. When I finally left, I remember one day telling God, now if you didn't get me out of here, I was just going to go have a tattoo or something. Because crazy things I was telling God,
Do you think some of the things you went through then is what is propelling you now with some of the things you're doing, and it's sort of what you went through those things so that you could do what you're doing now. But before I go into that, there are 2 quotes from your blog, and I'll just read them to you, that you wrote. You said, "Embrace your struggles because God often speaks to you through them. What you don't have access to does not determine what you deserve." Can you explain?
Okay.
Before we talk about
about embracing your struggles. At that point, I can't say for sure that I embraced it. I just lived. If I knew, I probably have done better. Maybe I wouldn't have yelled at God. I wouldn't have told God that he was mean for taking my dad. And when he finally took my mom, I wouldn't say he was even meaner. You know, I wouldn't have said all those words. I didn't embrace it. I wrote that quote now after seeing how my life turned out. And I was saying, oh my God, those things that I went through actually have prepared me for this journey. Because the strong person that I am right now, when people say you're strong, I'm like, you have no idea that I had to, swallow a lot of things to get to where I am. And so those were the things that made me a strong person, and it's making me who I am right now. Choices I'm making right now are because of those struggles. So I'm embracing it right now, and I'm telling people to do the same wherever you are, whatever challenge you're facing, just embrace it, because you don't know what will happen in another few months. It might be a bad job, it might be a bad mother-in-law, it could be anything, but you have no idea what that is for you ahead. That's why I said that.
You're a strong woman, obviously. How can we raise strong women? There are a lot of women that are maybe watching this episode now who are going through difficult times, but you have risen above everything that you went through. You've gone through a lot, but you've risen above it, and now you're impacting lives. I mean, I've been at an event, one of the Club 31 events, and just seeing the number of women that you're impacting, not just women, children as well, with your the Classroom Foundation. How can we raise strong women?
Okay, I think first starts from the home, really. And for me, my personal experience, my dad did a lot of work. My dad was afraid that I was going to get pregnant because we live in the barracks when I was young.
Okay.
And so at 13, you're pregnant. He was like numb. And so my dad was afraid. He told me he wanted me to be the first graduate in my family, like my family history. So I think it starts from home. I'm sure it starts from home because it happened to me. Parents need to spend time with their children, telling them things that matter. My dad wasn't SU anything, but he would say, this is how you have to sit. You have to close your legs, put your legs together as a girl. This is how you eat. This is how you talk to a guy. You don't scream, you don't raise your voice. But don't ask me now. But my dad brought me up properly. A few times I told myself, I think he neglected my brothers. But he was more concerned about the first person. He felt like
he would pass on the values to
all others. So he was really concerned. So it starts from home. And really spending time asking questions. My first love letter, I said on my blog, I had to show my dad. A lot of children right now will not show their fathers a text message a boy sent to them that it's probably not right. But I just said, can you imagine this boy said he likes me? How can he like me? I'm 12, And I was like, are you serious? And we laughed about it. But you can imagine that I was able to say that to him. That's how close we were. And even when a guy says, I'm like, you don't say that to a girl. You don't do this to a girl, But who is this one? And all that. So even in the barracks, people just knew that this one is different. So it starts from home. We can raise godly girls starting from when they're actually babies. We can start like that. And then how parents behave. I saw my mom and my dad. I know I wrote my blog that when my dad died, the woman that brought the news found it hard to tell my mom. That's because my parents they were too in love. I wondered how they fell in love. I'm like, these days, people don't fall in love, just marry. But we saw what it was. We saw how a family would be. We took family photos. That's why I take family photos every year of my brothers. And so we saw how with my parents were a family. They raised us up in that manner, and that helped me. So my mom wasn't really concerned about Ashwebi. She wasn't about weddings and going up and down, joining all the meetings and all the club and associations. No. I saw all those values from home, and that made me a better person. That actually has helped me to be who I am today.
So, that's really profound, that it starts from the home, and that's the Bible says, train up a child in the way he or she should go, and when he's old or she's old, it will not depart from, So clearly, it was with you. The things that your parents had put in you stood with you. So, that's interesting. And I guess that's what you're also doing with
children.
What you're doing now.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, family members, extended family members, relatives some of them tend to abandon kids when things like this happen to them. My family members did that to me. When I lost my dad, they left my brothers with my mom, but nobody wanted to pay school fees. They all just left them at home because I was out of secondary school, so I was lucky. And then my brothers were home for over a year. And then when my mom finally passed on, it was now time to take them on to live with them, to work in their farms or clean their houses, which I totally disagreed with. And so I was the rebellious child. So I think family members learning from them, I thought to myself, I can't be like my family members. If my brother or my cousin is in this need, I wouldn't do what they did to me, because they wanted us to work. Yeah, they wanted us to work for them. They wanted my brothers to work on their farm. Didn't put them in school. So getting my brothers out of Kaduna was very hard, you know. And when I did, my family didn't talk to me for years. My uncle called me for the first time in 8 years after he saw me on the newspaper. And then he saw me on Punch in an interview, and then he called me and said, "Is that you on the Punch newspaper?" I said, "Yes." He said, "You're joking." I said, "Yes." And I said, "Whose uncle is this one again?" Because I wasn't sure which of my uncles. And then he had to introduce himself. And then he said, "Well, can we talk?" I said, "No, we don't have anything to talk about." I was mean, but now I talk to them because I've forgiven them. Yeah. But it was hard that we called them several times and said we were hungry, and they would just turn a black eye. And they were like, "Oh, no, don't worry. Since you are capable of carrying 3 boys, have fun taking care of them." You know, so family members need to show love. You know, when people are going through stuff, you don't just abandon them and just assume that, oh, it's fine. And I look at my uncle right now, and I'm wondering, he used to have money. You know, so now he called me to say, "Oh, can I have 5K? You know, like, can I have 2K?" And I'm like, "Are you serious?" My uncle is calling me to ask me for 5,000. You know, and it's weird. And then immediately I graduated. I sent him a text message, and I said, I hope the jinx has been broken. And then he said, "Oh, you went to university?" I said, "Yes, I graduated." And then he said, "Wow, that also finally people will graduate in this family." I said, "Yes." And so if you have a history, well, please go right to there. That was the first graduate in your family. And he laughed about it. But then that's how, you know, we are right now. But then it wasn't like that. So now everyone is coming around. They'll call you up and say they're sorry. My grandmother did the same. She apologized before she died. Sorry that she abandoned us because they thought I was the stubborn child that ran away. So
if there's, I'm sure there are young people now that would want to reach you. How can they reach you?
Okay. So I started up a blog.
Okay.
Because I was posting on Facebook, and people were like, "You post a little bit about yourself on Facebook. Can we like get the whole story?" And I said, "Okay, I'll post them in bits." And so I started a blog. It's iraquel.com.
Okay.
And so, and Raquel is spelled Raquel. So it's iraquel.com. And and Raquel is Rachel version of my name. Well, I was born Rachel. It's written on my blog. But as a stubborn child, I told you, I wanted a different version of it. So, but it's legal now. Changed to Raquel. I wanted the Spanish version of it. So it's iraquel.com. My website has the contact me page. I get emails a lot from young people all over the world that email me to just ask questions, any question at all. I'm right there.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, we've come to the end of the show now, but I've read your story, but listening to it, it's re-inspired me if there's any word like that. So thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
I know people out there will probably reach out to you because they would be impacted by what they've heard. And so we hope to, this is like your second time on the Heart of the Matter, I think. So maybe you may be coming a third time again and you become the first female president.
Not my dream.
Okay, well, you never know what God has planned.
Yes, true.
But thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for me.
Viewers, I hope you have been inspired by listening to Raquel's story. If you're going through something similar to Raquel, please reach out to her. Her details are on the screen right now. Thank you very much for watching. Until next week, stay blessed.